investing is something which cannot exist in a silo. So if I have done a great job of investing, I've got a very good portfolio, I'm even making good returns on it. But if I haven't been servicing my loans, if I've accumulated credit card debt, if I haven't invested enough in health insurance, then I'm just one emergency away from sort of derailing all the good that I have done with my investment portfolio.
Welcome to Learn from Masters, the podcast where we bring you conversations with some of the most influential voices in the world of investing and financial literacy. Today's guest is Sumaira Abidi, Vice President, Public Relations and Investor Connect at SBI Mutual Fund. Sumaira's career spans over 20 years with deep roots in financial journalism. She was formerly editor mutual funds at CNBC TV 18 and Money Control. In 2020, she was named among India's top 100 women in finance by the Association of International Wealth Management of India. She is also the author of The Indian Woman's Essential Guide to Investing and Building Wealth, a book that empowers women to move beyond saving and become confident investors. And we are so delighted to have her on the show today. Sumaira, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Avanne, and I'm really happy to be here. And I want to thank MF Bharat for, doing this podcast and bringing so much information and knowledge to people. And it's really my privilege to be here.
Speaking of knowledge and information, that's exactly what you're doing. Congratulations on your lovely new book, The Indian Woman's Essential Guide to Investing and Building Wealth. And I can't tell you how integral and important it is at a time like this to write a book. So let's get to the beginning. What inspired you to write this?
I think more than inspiration, it was just the frustration. I was meeting a lot of women who were successful, they were doing well, good careers, earning well. They were opinionated, they were strong women, but somehow when it came to money, they sort of drew a blank. And I got many answers when I asked them that, why are you not interested in finance? And it ranged from boring to, I don't know where to begin. So that sort of prompted me to create, to sort of write a book which could be like the first step. You read this book and it takes you through all the stages of life. And more importantly, everything which is being spoken in terms of content for these women or for any investor in general is more product oriented, buy this and buy that. And there is nobody who's teaching people the philosophy of investing or the philosophy of money, why you need to do certain things and why you need to do it in a certain way. So that was, the reason there was a little bit of curiosity because after all, the products are the same, whether it's for men or women, so how much does it really differ for women? So I wanted to also take that journey for myself to find out, how different it is. And, you do realize that there are a lot of unique challenges that women face. So a lot of it I have covered in the book and, I hope I've been able to do justice.
Sumaira, you're absolutely right, because even the kind of conversations I have with women who are extremely successful, they're making a lot of money, but when it comes to money management or investing, it's kind of like this is a man's job and the man should be doing it. But in this book, I know you've been very in-depth because you've covered a number of topics, be it debt, understanding how to invest, EMIs, loans, etc. So what is it that a woman really, why do you think someone needs to get their hands on this book?
So, we go out and we've been telling women all these years that, you need to invest and, it's not just a man's job, you need to be doing it yourself. But, a lot of women reach this point where they're like, I have these 5 and 8 mutual funds and, I think I'm doing a pretty good job. But investing is something which cannot exist in a silo. So if I have done a great job of investing, I've got a very good portfolio, I'm even making good returns on it. But if I haven't been servicing my loans, if I've accumulated credit card debt, if I haven't invested enough in health insurance, then I'm just one emergency away from sort of derailing all the good that I have done with my investment portfolio. So this is something that has to be looked at very holistically. Investments is one part of the larger bucket of personal finance. And, since there was going to be this book, I wanted it to be something which started with zero assumptions. I wanted it to be for a woman who's living a regular life in an Indian household, somebody who's living with joint families or maybe irregular income, who's got gold as an inheritance, who's dealing with the emotional baggage of her money decisions. So it had to cover, the different life stages and everything that sort of one goes through those life stages. So just investing was never going to cut it.
Yeah. It's interesting that you've sort of taken every scenario into account. But I'm sure investing is very different at different phases of one's life. For example, a woman investing in her 20s, then perhaps in her 40s, as she's, making more money, taking more decisions as well. How does it differ and what's the advice you have?
Oh, it's very different, Avanne. You would know better than anyone that a woman in her 20s has something which probably no other investor has. And she has amples of it, which is time. Time is the biggest asset that a 20-year-old has. She needs, to just start. The only priority at 20 is to get started. The amount you start with is absolutely irrelevant. You start with $100, you start with $500, whatever you can put together. Get started, SIPs, emergency fund. This is all a 20-year-old needs. That's all that's going to sail her through that decade. But at 40, things change. A lot of people say that, I'll start investing when I have enough money. At 20, I don't have enough. But you know what? At 40, you might have enough money, but you equally have a larger number of responsibilities. You've probably just bought your first house, you've had kids, you're planning your vacations abroad, you're planning a mid-career break, you have to consider what you're going to be doing after you retire. You might have elderly parents, and this is the age when a lot of us wake up and discover medical symptoms, things going wrong. So at 40, you have a lot more things to cover, So that is a time when actually you need to start revisiting your portfolio to sort of adapt it to your new reality. So at 20, at 40, you cannot invest like you should at 20. Yeah. And at 20, you shouldn't have the anxiety that you probably have at 40. So it is very different. And, I've sort of covered all of those different life stages. So I hope it does its job.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. I have no doubt. Can you tell us some classic mistakes that women make when it comes to investing, saving, spending?
So I think, I wouldn't call it a mistake, but, Avanne, a lot of people say that, like I said,
women are good savers, though.
Women are good savers. There's no doubt about that. But somehow we have, maybe as an industry, we have not made enough of an attempt to differentiate between saving and investing. So, that is if I have an FD and, I think I'm done. But, that's just a starting point. Besides that, a lot of people just keep waiting. They'll be like, oh, not today, next year, this year I have, so many things to take care of. And, besides the very obvious, one of the many mistakes is that, a lot of people have become very comfortable with a high level of credit card debt, or taking personal loans. So this whole thing between good debt and bad debt, I don't think has been understood very well, right? So bad debt is anything which becomes a liability, right? So if you have a revolving, credit line on your credit card, or you take a personal loan which is too high for you to service. But a good debt is anything that's investing in yourself. So this is one of the other things. And then, of course, I want to also highlight one other thing that, a lot of women, they became so conscious about investing or saving, whatever you want to call it, and whatever they were doing, that they became scared to spend. So we have also at some point not been able to create that balance. So, these are just some of the things. And, I feel that you shouldn't also feel guilty about spending because after all, you're earning the money to give yourself a good life. So, plan it better. That would sort of solve a lot of the problems.
Absolutely. And, taking control of your finances and being financially independent, as you would know, is an absolute game changer. It gives you so much freedom, it gives you so much control, and it gives you so much power. Do you have any personal stories maybe that you'd like to share, or anything that you mentioned in the book that you would like to talk about how financial freedom or independence changes a woman's life?
So, we've been talking about women empowerment, but sadly, we're still living at a time where every day we wake up to, news of, another woman who's been been in a physically vulnerable spot. So, regardless of what the law says, I think the only way a woman can feel truly independent is if she has financial backing, right? She cannot leave if she feels she cannot afford to leave, right? One of the we raise our kids to be moral, to be ethical, to know about academics and, respect your elders and even mythology. We don't raise them to take themselves out of situations which make them financially vulnerable, right? So for a woman to be truly independent, she needs to have a number in mind. True empowerment is a number. It's not a feeling. One of the stories I want to talk about is, I've covered it under single women. It is not the story you would expect me to say, but nevertheless, she was a single lady in her early 40s and doing very well and all of that until one day she was in an accident. Her only living relative was her brother, who is in the US, and he came down at that time. And while she healed, but mentally she was incapacitated. The brother couldn't continue to stay here, so he entrusted the care of his sister to their cousin. The cousin himself had fallen on bad times, was struggling, and so he thought it's a win-win situation that the cousin just moves into the sister's apartment. They get a place to stay. The sister gets a caretaker. Now, as it would turn out, the cousin did stay there, but weren't taking very good care of the sister. And one fine day, and sort of draining her finances in the bargain. One fine day, finally, the brother was informed by a neighbor. And this took a few months. And by the time he came out, there was not much money left. So, financial independence is not just having money. It is about ring fencing yourself against situations, right? So in this case, what should have happened is that lady, because she was a single person, she didn't have close relatives in the city she was living in. She needed to have not just a will, but a power of attorney, which served her in case of incapacitation. So financial independence is not just money independence, but it is independence which is more holistic. So there are a lot of situations which, when we're dealing with good times, we don't think about. But that is exactly why, we need to have a plan to cover all of these situations.
Absolutely. It's so important and, very unfortunate, but anything can happen at any point and you need to sort of brace yourself for that. But I think, Sumaira, a lot of it stems from the deeply patriarchal society that we live in. The fact that when it comes to money or financial independence, women have never really played a role. I mean, how many conversations do you have with young girls about money and finance versus young boys? Do you think that a lot needs to be done in terms of changing the mindset?
Absolutely. This is one of my pet projects, so to speak, because a family is your first classroom, right? That's where you're learning everything. Your personality is being shaped in the living room, not even in school so much. So if you're being excluded from the very first classroom, you're already at a disadvantage. Families have to do a lot more in terms of, first of all, giving equal importance to both genders when it comes to, lessons around money. And then not just money, even, see, a family passes down its money philosophy, right? And unsaid things. Some families, may consider something a luxury, which for others is a necessity.
Yes.
Some may consider any number of things, right? So that mindset has to be passed on at home. So if you're teaching healthy investment habits, if you're teaching about investment discipline, if you're even just openly talking about money, money is considered a taboo in many families. जब बच्चे सो जाएंगे तब हम पैसे की बात करेंगे, उनके सामने बात मत करो. Things like that, so let that taboo be broken. Let even little older kids, let them join in this money conversation. Let it be something which doesn't have to be hidden. Even if a family is facing money problems, just by not talking about it in front of the kids, do you think the kids don't get a sense of what is going on? They're just confused. These are the situations where it's even more important to involve your children, because they should know how they will handle financial obstacles when they're older.
Yeah.
So I think a family plays a very, very pivotal role in shaping how you will become as a investor, or even just a person in the future. And not just families, I think schools also play a very important role. In fact, this is a subject you're teaching: history, geography, math and geometry. Most of them have very little application in real life. You need to be teaching kids about
100%.
money. And if I have my way, you need to be teaching kids how to make their bed. So I think, as families and as educators, we do have a long way to go.
Oh, absolutely. And like you said, it all begins at home. That family classroom plays such a big role. So for a young woman who is very intimidated by this whole world of investing and finance and money and handling all of it, what advice do you want to give her if you want to tell her to just start now?
So I think if somebody is just sort of getting started, entering their first job.
Give me 3 concrete steps or 5 concrete steps.
So let me give you 3 first. One is that she must have a bank account, which is linked directly to her earnings, right? It should not be dependent on anyone else. Let that bank account be just what she is earning and bringing in, right? Her income.
Yeah.
This, sounds very basic, but this is the first autonomy that a woman will have. The second thing is that, before she does anything else, she needs to have an emergency fund, right? So begin by having, say, 3 months of savings, gradually increase it to 6, because you should be able to survive any sort of emergency situation or unforeseen circumstance that you have to deal with. And the third thing is to start an SIP. $100, $150, 500, whatever you can do, but you need to start. And once you have that discipline, then probably you can explore, what more you need to do. Also get a health insurance if it's not already being provided by an employer, and probably a term plan depending on, their own unique situation.
Okay. You spoke about SIPs as the last one. It can be such a powerful tool when it comes to compounding your wealth versus just sitting in an FD. Explain to, the viewers who are watching as to why an SIP is so important.
Oh, why not? An SIP, it does 2 very important things, right, for women. One is that it takes away, their sort of indecision. You have to do it every month. And this fear that, I don't know enough about the market, abhi dalna hai, tabhi dalna hai, kal, parson. So it takes away this necessity to time the market. And, a lot of women, growing up, I knew women who were putting money aside for kitty. Kitty is nothing, just, SIP is an evolved form of that, right?
Yeah.
There are women who have been putting money every month with jewelers, and at the end of the year, they go and buy some jewelry. So the concept is there, right? But the discipline that this should be done for a financial instrument and it should be done regularly, that is all that's needed. But I think it can be absolutely phenomenal, the kind of wealth that you can create just by staying invested. There was a reason that compounding is called the 8th wonder of the world. All it needs is time, right? Everybody keeps asking me, but 5,000 se hoga hi kya? And I tell them that, aap 500 se bhi bahut ho sakta hai. You just have to stay the course. And Avanne, the one thing that, a lot of women need to, sort of internalize is this quote, that I heard recently, which said that, being in debt is hard and being financially disciplined is hard. You have to choose your hard. So, sometimes it may feel like you want to stop your SIP, you want to redeem that money. But trust me, staying invested is going to be the best course.
And in your experience, you've, of course, worked for the most part in journalism and now with a mutual fund. Tell us a little bit about how the finance industry has adapted and evolved over the years for women and what more needs to be done.
Oh, things are a lot better now, so there are so many more women in leading roles now than there were even, say, 10 years ago. Not just that, women are being taken more seriously. I think 10, 12 years ago, it was a struggle to even be taken seriously if you had something important to say. So, definitely participation is increasing. But there is this, I don't know how else to put it. So I'm going to say this mentality of scarcity, that, there is only place for so many women at the top. That is something that we need to change. There is 50% room at the top for women, or there should be. So this is something that, the men also have to help us. The women have to sort of show up to take that spot. Things are changing, but we need more women to sort of show up. We need more women to say that, I'm not intimidated by numbers, because eventually whatever else you may say and do, this is an industry that runs on numbers, right? If women, say I'm scared of math and I don't want to do numbers, it's not going to help the cause. So we need more women to actively take it up. It's not, scary at all, but you need to show up. You need to sort of own that space.
Absolutely. Let's get into a rapid fire, Sumaira, before we let you go. Equity or debt for a 25-year-old investor?
Oh, equity, and equity.
What is a common myth that women have when it comes to investing?
On
a bust.
That they need a lot of money to begin investing. You don't. You need as little as $100.
Financial freedom is, complete the sentence.
The ability to make choices.
One financial habit that women should start today.
I think a monthly date with your finances, just, 30 minutes, go through everything that you have. And, that'll teach you a lot more than probably any book can.
And if a woman today is wanting to start her wealth creation journey, what's the first step she should take?
Read my book, I hope. No, yes. I think, before you invest, you need to have an emergency fund, and we need to sort of drill down how important this is.
Sumaira, congratulations once again on your book, and I wish you all the very best. And it's been a really strong messaging that I hope all women get.
Thank you so much, Avanne. My absolute pleasure to be here.
So that was an interesting conversation that we had. The importance of financial freedom for women cannot be stressed enough. It absolutely empowers you and changes your life. It is very important. And as Sumaira said, it is important to start somewhere, but start. And SIP is very critical. Having an emergency fund is also very important, especially in your 20s. But as you grow older, do remember to revisit your portfolio and your financial needs. It is important to start education for a woman at home itself, and then, of course, within the education system itself. The 3 steps is have a bank account that is linked to your earnings, have an emergency fund, and start an SIP. Those are the 3 steps that you need to get started. And of course, the 4th would be to read Sumaira's book. I certainly hope you enjoyed this interview. Do remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment. The YouTube channel is MF Bharat. Hope to see you more. Thanks for watching.